Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, it's Sirena Pellarolo. She is a Ph.D. and certified, holistic health coach. She is international author and speaker, radio host, and blogger with 30 years of experience in self-development and health and wellness. Before starting with her, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out, and our technical team will be getting in contact with you. You can collaborate with Mindalia in English, as you already know, but you can also do it in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión and in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão. Visit our different channels and platforms. Follow us in our Facebook pages, Instagram accounts. Doing that, you not only help us reach as much people as possible in the world, but you also keep yourself updated with the wonderful information that we're sharing there on a daily basis. We are not going to be delaying this any further, and I'm going to be introducing you now to Sirena. Sirena, welcome to Mindalia live streaming.
Thank you so much, Mirna. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here with you.
I am happy also to have you, Sirena. Let's start with something very, very particular about you. Your name, Sirena. Is that your actual name or your given
name? That's a very good question. Thank you. No, my given name is Sylvia. Sirena was a name that was revealed to me by spirit in a dream. I was turning 35, and the night before, I was going through a lot of changes in my life. The night before, I prayed for a new name, and I had a dream when a written paper, handwritten in pencil, it said Sirena. I was Sirena. What is that about? And I was a professor then, and very rational and very go-getting, everything that I was doing. And Sirena seemed something too feminine, maybe, too watery. But as I continued to journal, I understood that Sirena was plunging in the waters of emotion that I needed to get out of my head and into my heart.
Wow. So to the audience, it's important, if you don't speak Spanish, to know that Sirena is actually mermaid in Spanish.
That's right.
That is why it's so charming, and it's so I really like it.
Thank you.
Tell me about what you do. Tell us a little bit about your practice.
Sure. I call myself a midlife midwife. And what I am is a midlife reinvention coach. And I support mostly professional midlife women to move through their transitions in an empowered and holistic way so that they rebirth into the best version of themselves. That's why I'm a midwife. I help women rebirth themselves at midlife.
And when you say midlife, what are you referring to? What will be that time frame of ages?
Yes, that's a very stretchy concept. My clients go from late 30s when they start with perimenopause, and I have clients in their late 60s also, because in each change of decade, there's a new transformation, there's a new reinvention, there's a new rebirth. So I know that women in their 60s, we're post midlife, but I still call them midlife to englobe, to embrace everything.
Exactly. And let me ask you something. I am very, very, I would say, new to this concept of the reinvention of a woman. So I may be doing a lot of very amateur questions in the topic, okay?
All questions are good.
When you said perimenopause, what are you referring to?
Okay, perimenopause is the 10 years, around 10 years before women stop having their menses, their menstruation. And that's the time when the big changes happen. It's a time when there's a rebalancing of the hormones, when women start getting many times their hot flashes and night sweats and irritability, and they don't want to be with people. They want to go within. I call it a portal of transformation, an alchemic portal of transformation, because women get so heated up because what they're doing is they're melting away things that they don't need anymore. Perimenopause is a time of looking back and sorting what we want to keep and what doesn't work anymore, like relationships, jobs, careers, environments, belief systems. And so all that is given up, let go, so that they get into their wisdom years very clear and very ready to be a new woman. And usually there's a lot of service that happens when they go through this portal of transformation.
That is incredibly amazing. It sounds like a plan. Let me ask you something. In this culture, the times that we're living right now, do you think that those periods of times are, of course, directly related to the actual biology and the chemistry of your body, but how is that culturally influenced?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because we're living in the United States, right? So if we talk about the culture of the United States, I think that there's a greater awareness in women about these different life cycles. I came into my activism, let's say, in the feminism of the 70s and the second wave of feminism. And during that time, there were a lot of women who were writing about these things, about the wise crone, the crone. And there's many of the baby boomers that were so active in the 60s and 70s now are my age, in their 60s and 70s. So there's a whole new perspective of the empowerment of women at this age. In our Latina culture, in Latin America, it's still different. For example, I'm going to bring up a retreat I'm organizing in Argentina with a friend of mine who was a friend from elementary school, and she's a clinical psychologist. So we're co-organizing a retreat in Patagonia, and she was like, I don't know if women are going to like this idea of midlife in Argentina. Because women in Latin America, they're more like proud of their beauty and they want to stay young longer generally. And they don't talk that much about menopause or those things that are, they talk, maybe they put their hands in their mouths, and they're not so open as in this country. So in Latin America, only now there's more of an awareness of the empowerment of women post midlife. So it is very culturally relevant.
You're right. That we are kind of penalized for aging?
Yes.
Especially in Latin America, you have to pertain to a certain beauty standard in which you are either young or you're not in the game.
The good thing in Latin America is that older women have authority, have power, all the cult of the mother and the grandmother. So women that age have a role, a cultural role, a social role. In this country, not so much, but women in this country, in the US, have learned how to be their own selves and do whatever they were not able to develop before. Many are learning how to many times start a new business, start a new career, become entrepreneurs, or do a lot of service. So I think it's different.
That's interesting. And you just mentioned feminism.
Yes.
When you talk about feminism, what is it for you? Because I see very different concepts of feminism, and I do see that in a certain point, feminism is actually not helping women at all. So I want to hear what's your concept about it, and where do you stand in that regard?
Okay, very good. Well, my relationship to feminism has completely evolved, but I'm going to give you a little bit of my trajectory as a woman. It started in Buenos Aires in the 50s. I'm 63. I was born in 1955, and I was a very curious little girl, and I always tried to find my own voice, my own authenticity, mostly in a country that was very male dominated. And it was not easy. I was mocked many times because I was very preguntona. I was always asking things and talking too much. But through trial and error, and I was very interested in reading and learning more about other cultures and about other countries and literature. So by trial and error, I became the empowered woman that I am now. And what really helped me was that during the military dictatorship in Argentina in the late 70s, I moved to Europe. And so I lived in Italy and in France. And there I became very acquainted with feminism, the feminism of that time. And all the ideas of feminism were fantastic for me because they were very empowering. And I know that the pendulum at that time went to the extreme of being man haters many times, at least for me. I did not like to, I was very combative, I fought men. And throughout my years, then I came to this country in the 80s. I did a PhD at UCLA. Most of the research I did was on women's empowerment. So I was always looking at women's empowerment. But when I retired at 55, I decided that I had worked so much with younger women and with women's empowerment, the research of women's empowerment, that I wanted to be more in contact with women and take my message of women's empowerment outside of academia. At the same time, I had parallel to my academic career, I was always a very spiritual person, and I became a spiritual counselor. So my view of women's empowerment now is not to try to do what men do, but to really stand in the power that we are as women, because we have a lot of power as women. So my view now is that type of women's empowerment, and at the same time supporting men. I think that men at this time need a lot of support, and I feel for them, and that's what I'm talking about with other wise women my age, of how can we support men to move beyond patriarchy and become more of a collaboration, do more collaborative work with women.
I love it. I love it because I have seen it's what you say. Like the pendulum probably went too much on a way, and then it's kind of bouncing back to a moment in which culturally men are kind of without a role model because they're in a very sensitive ground. What do you think is needed so we go back to, or probably, I'm not sure if we have ever been, but reach collaboration and synergy between genders?
Yes. First of all, I feel that women need to feel comfortable being women. And being women means to be open, to be receptive, to be really the goddesses that we are. My mom used to say, and she knew how to be a woman. My dad adored her. She said, women are el refugio del guerrero, the refuge of the warrior. Women are that place where men feel safe. It's the earth. It's like the earth, like Pachamama. And women need to recognize the power that we have in that receptivity. When we do that, men will feel more at ease to be themselves and to be the provider and to be the warrior. That's part of their nature. So I think that that's one thing. And the other thing is to help little boys, since they start their education, to be more in their feelings, more in touch with their feelings, more in touch with their feminine side. And I also understand that at this time, there's not only men and women. I understand that genders are very fluid. So to be more embracing of all this fluidity of genders, but women really accepting the power that they have as women.
Thank you. You just mentioned the earth. You mentioned Pachamama. I do know that you have knowledge in very different fields, not only the Eastern type of knowledge, but also, not only the Western type of knowledge, but also kind of Eastern tendencies.
Yes.
Do you think that power and rising power of the women at a certain point and men at another certain point has to do also with the vibrational frequency of the planet?
Totally. Yes. I think that what's going on, it's all cosmic. There's a lot of energies that are asking us to step up our game in this time of ascension, where we need to look at ourselves and really let go of things that, it's like in perimenopause, let go of things that don't work anymore. And this whole rebalancing of genders, it is, I host wise women's councils. We were in Circle yesterday with several wise women honoring International Women's Day month. And we were talking about that and the rebalancing of the genders and how there's more and more fluidity. I was talking to two grandparents the other day, and they both told me they had transgender grandchildren in their teens. So I think that that's part of the changes in the cosmos, where there is some kind of rebalancing. I don't understand very well what it is, but it is part of a cosmic thing. It's not only us, our physical bodies. It's bigger. And of course, Pachamama is involved in that as the mother that's recalibrating itself to be more as a container for this change, this incredible transformation that we're going through.
I completely love in herself. I love it.
Yeah.
How do you think we can be entrepreneurs? Be like, what would you say is the key for balancing us being mothers, wives, and a successful entrepreneur or businesswoman? Where is that secret? How can we not, sometimes the way I think it is that as if you're cooking in 3 different stoves.
Yes.
At a certain point, you're going to let one of them burn. But we want to do it all because we can. What do you think that secret?
Well, how I did it, which I don't know it is the best, is to first of all believe in myself and believe in what I'm doing and have a very clear why am I doing it. And for me, it was always beyond myself. I did it because I wanted to be a beacon of light for other women and to change the world. Basically, I want to change the world. And so I was very disciplined with myself, with my spiritual practices. Every morning I need to do my meditation and my prayer and my journaling. If I don't do it, I don't function well during the day. If I need to wake up really early in the morning, I do it, and I do my physical exercises and eating well. And I have to say that in my own case, when I was a mother of younger daughters, I put a lot of energy into my career because I was a single mother. I needed to get the money into the family and all that. And maybe I feel now that if I had to do it again, I would be with my daughters more. I think that mothers need to be with their children. And when it's a question of choosing career or children, I think that the mothers really need to find a balance and not neglect the children. It's very important to be with them.
Yes, I agree 100% with you. When I have heard that when you are outside on the streets, not in the actual streets, but in the work field, you're working, you are being the protector, you are being the provider. And if you are a single mother, for example, like me, you are also the head of your household. And when you're doing that, you are in masculine all the time, in masculine energy.
Yes.
How do you bring yourself back to the feminine and get all the success that we can get outside, but from your feminine? That's possible?
That is such a good idea. I think that's the key to keep that balance. Yes, we are in the masculine when we go out there to the job or to try to provide for our children when we're single mothers. I think that, again, going back into our body, going back into the power that we have as women, our second chakra, really being very connected to our sacral chakra, not to our sexual organs, because that's our power. And there's a lot of different practices to do that. I like the jade egg very, very much. There's a lot of different practices to really connect with that power in our core, a lot of tantra practices. And to me, another thing is the spiritual practices. The spiritual practice, meditation, is to be in a receptive state to receive messages. So the spiritual practices are also important to understand who we are, to get in touch with our identity as that receptivity that is the woman.
That's perfect. Tell me a little bit about your career as a writer.
Oh, okay. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to write, and I have written a lot, and I continue to write a lot. I journal every morning. I have 80 different copybooks, journals that I have written in my life, maybe more. But when I did a lot of poetry writing, a lot of storytelling writing, that have not been published, most of it. But when I went to UCLA and I was a graduate student, I did a lot of writing. I have hundreds of articles on women's empowerment in Latin America in academic journals. I have 2 books written in Spanish on the popular theater of Buenos Aires at the turn of the 20th century that represented the whole immigration flows. And I have another book on women and tango in Spanish that I published in Buenos Aires. And then when I changed careers and I became a coach, and I'm doing the empowerment of women, I have been contributing to several collections of, for example, I contributed to a collection on menopause, another collection on beauty, another collection that just came out that's called Journeys of Discovery, where I tell my story of how I transformed myself into the midlife midwife. I blog continuously. I'm always writing, actually. I love to write.
That's beautiful. You know that the other day with a couple girlfriends, we were talking, and one of them was saying that she was completely depressed once her children left for college, that she felt useless, that she felt abandoned. And we started a whole topic about it, because it happens that to many women, they dedicate their entire life to taking care of their children, which is wonderful, and I consider the hardest job in this universe.
That's right.
In at home is beyond any preparation that we could ever get. But what do you think is happening there? Why is it happening? How can we prevent it? And how can we help them when they're going through that?
Yes. I don't think we can prevent it because that's part of life. But that's one of the characteristics of what women go through when they enter this portal of transformation. There could be the end of their own career and retirement, their children going to college, so they have an empty nest, their body starts changing. And all these circumstances, conditions, are opportunities for us to go deeper into ourselves and get to know ourselves better. What women are given at this age is the opportunity for a spiritual awakening if they have not had a spiritual journey until then, because all these things that completely change the structure of our life will help us if we're willing. It will help us to go deeper and to choose differently for the second part of their lives. So that's the work that I do as a midlife midwife. I support women to go through this birthing canal with all the depression or sadness. Sometimes there's a lot of anger that comes up. There's different feelings, and that is good because all that was stuff that was stored in their bodies and needs to come up. I bet that your friend is not sad about her children leaving. She's sad about her childhood or her youth and what she has not been able to accomplish until now. So that's the sadness.
I think I agree with you. I completely agree with you. And I have seen it so many times, and we see it around aunts that are going through the same thing, or our own parents realizing that they haven't done what they wanted to do. How do you think, from your perspective? I see that you have more than 30 years of experience, and probably you have seen the transformation between for example, the presents that we got on our birthday, if you remember, was a broom,
Yes,
an ironing board, remember?
yes, 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 that's right.
Yeah, it's your birthday, and you got a cradle for the fictional babies. But
Yes,
for me, the funniest part is a broom. Don't you ever give me a broom unless it's for flying, right?
exactly, exactly.
How I today with my daughter, I get her Hot Wheels, I get her cars, I get her Legos, I get her chemistry kits, whatever she wants, regardless if it says it's for boys or if it says it's for girls. She has even told me sometimes, Mama, I feel really sad when I see that they are promoting toys, and if it's like those I can't remember the guns that they shoot pellets. The well,
BB guns.
no, it's
Oh,
I can't remember, but it's a fun gun, or anything else, Legos or any other balls or whatever. She feels like inadequate. She feels like she doesn't fit. She's just like, why aren't girls in those commercials? How do you see that
yeah.
evolving in the societies that are getting out of colleges right now? How do you see the change in girls, for example, studying boys' careers or doing boy roles in the work
Well,
environment?
at the university, I think that there's more women than men. I can't remember the statistics, but there's more and more women going to college. And going back to the toys, I have a grandson, James. He's almost 5, and his mom got him a kitchen, a big kitchen. So that's also interesting to start um, um, having those toys move from one place to the other. He also had a doll when she was pregnant again of a little girl. She got him a doll, a baby doll, so he would know how to learn to treat a baby. So things are changing for both, for girls and for boys. And women, of course, have much more accessibility now to many different roles. There's still some glass ceilings. For example, as a professor, I was the one who was publishing the most in my department. I was the one who was going to conferences. I was the scholar, but I was not paid as well as the men who didn't do much. I mean, who were not publishing. So those things, those inequalities still exist.
That's very interesting, and it's something that definitely it's starting to be shown, right? Especially
Yes.
what you say about the boy with the kitchen. I've seen a couple of moms doing that, and they are no, it's not easy with the family that are judging them, like, why did you get him a kitchen? One of my
Yes.
friends said because his dad is a cook, he was a chef. So for him, it's completely normal. He's just imitating. He wants to be doing the same thing that dad is doing. So I got him his own skillets and his own
That's right.
and all that. I wanted to share with you something that I saw today. I'm not sure if it's true because now everyone publishes things that says that science is behind it, but let me tell you what it says. It says studies confirm the fragile male ego is threatened by intelligent women. Is that true? How do you think it is?
I don't know if it's proven but by science, but I have experienced it a lot in my life. Men, many men, and maybe men who are not self-assured, feel threatened by intelligent and powerful women. That's why they put them down many times. I don't know if that is true. I mean, it's scientifically proven, but I
But
see it a lot.
from the experience, you think it's true. I was very I've seen it before, people saying that, but I've never seen like a paper on it. I didn't really have time to read it completely, but it came to my mind that many times, many times, I have heard other women advise me, like, if you're going on a date, don't be too smart.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You have no idea, even from older women, like, don't be smart until you have him secured. That, what do you think about it? I'm not even going to say anything. Because I want
Well,
to hear
if
your.
you cannot be authentically you, it's not about bragging about your intelligence, but if you cannot be authentically you, how are you going to have a relationship with this person? I mean, if you have to wait until you have him secure and suddenly you become this intelligent woman, he won't like you. Who knows? Maybe he does. But I think to be authentic is the best way. Um, and the match, the perfect fit will arrive when it's the time.
I understand, but is it in any way related? Like, how can we do to empower our kids, our children, our men, like boys and our girls, to break these boundaries about that gender, you're supposed to be this and you're supposed to be that?
I think that it's important to help them connect with the other gender within, with that little girls connect with their male masculine side and boys connect with their feminine side.
Okay.
So we're more rounded. And about
Excellent.
the dating, I was thinking about something. And I go back to what I was saying about knowing the power that we have as women. Men are not girlfriends. We need to understand that and not try to have a relationship with men as with our girlfriends. Men are men. They have other interests. And many times I see women blurring that boundary, wanting men to be a buddy, like a woman, and that doesn't work. So we need to understand that we are dealing with someone different with different needs and respect that and have our own circle of women if we want to complain or vent or whatever.
That's
Complaining
very.
with men is not a good idea.
I understand. And can you tell me a little bit about your career as an, let me see, speaker and radio host?
Okay, I have been a speaker for a very long time. They used to call me Periquita when I was a little girl, like the perique. Um, and as a scholar, I would go and give papers and deliver lectures a lot, and I continue doing that. I love, and I was a professor, so I was always speaking to students. I love to do that. I still offer workshops. I also have my Wise Women's Councils where we meet once a month. And as a radio, I had a radio show for a while, not for too long, that I loved. But now I think I want to have a radio show again because I think I have so much to share. And my idea of a radio show is a call in and ask the midlife midwife. So do a little brief coaching with women who need support in different areas.
What do you think is the blind spot right now in midlife women? What are we seeing? What are we missing?
They have lost their power. They have given away their power to the media, to ideas about aging, to the medical industrial complex. Menopausal women, there's 45 million menopausal women in this country, are the most targeted audience or market for medication. That's why when women go on to see the doctor and say they're going through this and that and depression, they're always medicated. That's why my approach is holistic, because I feel that there's much more work on the root causes of what they're going through than giving them a little pill for them to change. So women need to reclaim their power. And that's the first stage of my work with my clients. Reclaim your power. We have the power. Don't give it away to anyone. But to reclaim our power means to look within and learn to know who we are. Know thyself.
What is your feedback from the people that you help? Is there a way that you could share a little bit of a story, of course, guarding their own
Yes.
privacy, but
Yes, of course.
that you would
There's
love to.
so many stories of incredible results. As a midlife midwife, what I do is support women, get them through that darkness of confusion and not knowing. So there's women who have left toxic relationships, left careers that didn't work for them, left cities, environments that did not support them, I have a client recently who felt very depressed, who had a lot of health issues, and who was always complaining about not having money. I made her understand that she had a lot, she was sitting on a pile of gold because her family had inherited her house that was paid off and a store. So at some point she told me, come and see my store. It's full of inventory and I don't know what to do about it. And I said, I'm going to go with you with a real estate agent and an organizer that will help you declutter. That was last December. This week, they're going on escrow. She sold that property for over $1 million. So she had been attaching to an emotional value of this property and not realizing that she had all this capital that she was not using. So that story is like an example and a symbol of what I do with the women to really become aware of the gold that they have inside of themselves and how to use it to move forward.
Thank you. We're almost reaching the end of our conversation, but I still have so much more that I would love to ask. What do you think what is prejudice doing to women on these days? What is that value that should remain forever? And what is that concept that we are ready to let go?
Prejudice is fear. And as Marianne Williamson says, and the Course in Miracles say, there's only love or fear. So that thing that needs to remain is love, however we want to look at it. Expressing more love, expressing more about ourselves, being authentic, being honest, and letting go of fear, which is guilt, shame, prejudice, racism. That's all fear. We don't need that anymore in this new era that's starting. We need love, opening up our heart, forgiving, letting go of all resentment. So that is what I would say is what needs to remain.
Okay. I want to close this with a question.
Yes.
This is the last question, but then I'm gonna ask you for an advice. But question, this will be the last one. What do you think is the situation of the picture of women in 10 to 20 years? How do you see us? What have we accomplished that we didn't have before? How is our relationship not only with ourselves, with our own other women, because I understand that there is a lot of fighting between, women to women. That's probably, I would say that our worst enemy is ourselves. How do you see us in 10 to 20 years?
I would like to say how I see the world and all of humanity. I
That's perfect.
see people cooperating with each other, women with men, with children, having groups of intergenerational projects where elders are respected just like children and younger women, where the idea of beauty is beauty from within and not what the media makes us believe that beauty is, where we can all have time for ourselves and express ourselves and feel pleasure, because that's something that in this society we don't have time for, where we are creative and continue to create for the largest good and for collaborating in a world that fits for everyone, a world that is good for everyone. I see a lot of equality and cooperation.
That sounds perfect. And what will be your number one advice to women in the middle age?
To get support. I feel that the middle age years can become very lonely and very scary, and women don't understand their bodies anymore, and they don't understand their minds either, or their emotions. And the best way is to go through this transition supported with women who are going through the same, with peers, and also maybe with experts like coaches or therapists or friends that they can talk to. Support is very important during these years.
Thank you again.
Sure.
Where can our audience find you, Sirena?
My audience can find me in my website, which is www.sirenapellarolo, my name, SirenaPellarolo.com. I also have a professional page on Facebook that's Dr. Sirena Pellarolo. And I'm on LinkedIn with the same name, and on Twitter, Viva Sirena. And I have also a YouTube channel.
Oh, perfect. With your name also, right?
With my name also, yes.
Okay. Thank you again for being with us. I want to thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom with Mindalia TV, with all our audience, and to our audience, of course, we want to thank you again for being with us. We want to send you a big hug, and we want to remind you that you can subscribe to our channel, and not only to this one, but you can also do it to our Spanish channels, Mindalia Televisión, and to our Portuguese channel, Mindalia Televisao. Follow us in our Facebook pages and Instagram accounts. In that way, you not only help us reach as much people as possible, but also you keep yourself updated with the information that we share on a daily basis. Send you a big hug, and until next time, bye-bye. Bye, Sirena. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.